During today's hearing, Congressman Tom Graves firing questions at the acting IRS commissioner and the inspector general. Did he get the answers he was looking for? Well, we'll find out. Congressman Graves joins us. Nice to see you, sir.
Thank you, Greta. Good to be with you.
Did you get the answers you wanted?
I don't think we got all the answers that we were looking for, but one thing's for certain. Our constituents are mad. They're angry. They're frustrated. And I think what we've seen over the last couple of weeks maybe is not line dancing. It's more like the watermelon crawl from a lot of the IRS answers that have been coming from them. I mean, when are we going to get down to who made the order? Who made the call for these various employees in Cincinnati or wherever they were to do what they've done as far as targeting any American as they have?
All right. The gentleman from the IRS today, the acting commissioner, has only been acting commissioner since May 22nd, so we can't blame him, can we, for what happened beforehand, or can we?
Well, I mean, he's certainly held accountable today. He's the boss. He's the man in charge right now.
But he says things, say, like, you know, there's going to be more transparency. And I hear the word transparency, my eyes roll around in my head. I think I've heard that. What in the world does that mean? Do you know?
Well, it certainly doesn't mean pleading the fifth every time you're asked a question, right? I mean, you would expect that they would get direct answers. These are very simple questions, and that is, for example, today I asked him, I said, have you interviewed and asked any of the employees in Cincinnati who ordered them to do this? His answer was no.
Well, see, I mean, that's just a perfect example. He's been on the job. I realize only since May 22nd, but he hasn't even done that. Wouldn't that be a starting point?
It seems like that'd be the very first question you would want to know.
So how can you feel any confidence say, he's a perfectly nice gentleman coming there, and he's only been there since May 22nd, but if he hasn't done the very basic, asking what in the world happened in Cincinnati, isn't that sort of a bad sign to start with?
Well, I think one thing that's determined is that nothing's really changed there. I mean, we might have a few nameplates changed on the various doors, but nothing has changed underneath in the IRS. So we need accountability. Somebody needs to be held responsible. That question was asked today. Did he think accountability had been delivered? He said yes. When I asked if Lois Lerner was still being paid, he said yes. She is on administrative leave. There's only been 2 resignations. One was asked for. Really, who has been held accountable for this?
In terms of oversight, what in the world has Congress been doing for the last couple of years in terms of providing oversight? We hear that in the past, between 2010 and 2012, the IRS spent $50 million on conferences, which, you know, if you live in this town, you know that means parties. They go off to some hotel, they may call it a conference, but it's essentially a party. They don't have to do that. $50 million. And where's Congress been?
That's a great question. I mean, we've been going through this process of CRs, continuing resolutions, not an open process through the appropriations. That's what we're actually pushing through right now, and hopefully we'll get some cooperation in a bipartisan way to dig in deep and set the priorities. But it's clear that when you give the IRS any money, they're not being very responsible. So the question is, what do we do next?
Well, that's a good question, because you've got an organization, the IRS. First of all, American people have traditionally hated it because they haven't liked it. They don't like getting a notice from the IRS. You now find out that they are having these conferences, spending $50 million, that they are targeting Americans, that they're making ridiculous videos. And you know, so and we've got an IRS code that nobody can understand. That I would bet that not one member of Congress does his own taxes because it's so darn complicated. So what in the world? I mean, this is a far bigger problem than just targeting a couple of groups in this country. It's a major problem.
Right, and the solution's easy. It's time to dismantle the IRS piece by piece. Let's go to the flat tax, the fair tax, something that actually empowers the American taxpayer instead of empowering government and giving somebody a tool to use against their political opponents. Not that difficult to solve.
Have you heard at all from the White House at all on this? I mean, did the White House dispatch people to Capitol Hill to try to figure out what we're going to do about this this scandal?
I haven't heard anything from the White House, which is an indication of their leadership role in this. They've absolutely done nothing with this. I asked the commissioner today, had he met with the president or the White House in preparation for the hearing? He said no.
Well, that was actually good, because that would have looked like, I heard you ask that question, it would have looked like the fix was in had he met with the president prior to going to talk to you.
But I asked if he had met with the president, talked with the president, and I think the president afforded him maybe 20 minutes of discussion time for this, along with Jack Lew. So where is the president on this? That is the big question. Is he going to take a leadership role? Is he going to clean house? That was another question that I asked. Did he order you to clean house and to fix this and hold anyone accountable? The answer was no.
What directions did he give the acting commissioner?
It was more of a softer, gentler approach. Let's just work through this. Let's take our time. Don't rush to any conclusions here. Look, this is self-admitted inappropriate behavior by the IRS with people that we know were involved. This is not about being patient. This is about accountability and seeking the truth.
When are you going to talk to the people in Ohio?
When are we going to talk to them?
That's
a great question. We should have them come into the committee as well.
They should have been here this morning. You should have asked them this morning.
Yeah, you know, I'm not the subcommittee chairman,
no,
but if
I understand that. I understand that.
Great plug for me there. If I were, I would do that.
You'd ask them a question, get them, because this is, I mean, the American people are absolutely up in arms about this from top to bottom, and there's just, I mean, there's nothing, what's good about the IRS? What have they done well?
Apparently line dancing, but they didn't look too well, did it?
Yeah, it was a good line. Anyway, Congressman.
Oh, I was just going to say that those folks in Cincinnati were asked who gave them the order, and apparently they would not respond.
Hopefully that we'll get to the bottom of that. Anyway, Congressman, thank you, sir. Nice to see you.
Greta.